can't believe that that one mount to the block just literally fell off in my hand. So we're gonna head out, go on a quick test drive. Hopefully this goes well. Welcome back to another episode of Broke From Here, guys. If you are new to the channel and you like seeing cars go from being worth $500 to $5,000 in a short amount of time, then you're in the right place. Make sure to go down, hit the subscribe button, and make sure to click the notification bell. This way you get alerted when I put out 2 a week. If you're not new to the channel, then you know that previously we've been working on my 2003 Ford Mustang 3.8 that needed a clutch. Been working on it for quite a bit now. I wish it was done already. I thought it was going to be done in one episode, and it has taken quite a bit of time. But basically, I am right to the tail end of it. I'm just trying to get the transmission to mate to the engine. We've got about just under a ½ an inch gap on the bottom of the transmission and engine to just barely over ½ an inch gap on the top end. So I know I have to kind of pivot the transmission at this point and try to get the thing in. I think I'm still having a problem with the spline meeting up on the clutch to the transmission. Just based on looking at the video that I watched last week, where my pilot bearing would sit on the input shaft, I just believe where everything's mating up, I'm right at the edge of the spline and the clutch. So my goal today is to finally get those things to meet, tighten it down, torque them up, make sure it's good, install the drive shaft, and then hopefully yank out the driver's side exhaust manifold and weld it up. If I get that far, I'll be happy just to have the transmission mounted and the drive shaft in. Now, I've been trying to think of ideas how to make this thing happen. Originally, I put the drive shaft in and kind of spun it while it was in gear until it locked, so that hopefully it would catch the spline of the clutch and would slide in. That didn't work. The transmission did spin a little bit, then lock, but it didn't seem to catch the spline, or if it did, it caught it and then just got stuck. So my next thought today was to spin the crankshaft over. If I spin the crankshaft, I should be turning the flywheel, the clutch, and the clutch pressure plate around. If I can get it just to go a couple degrees, I believe I can make that spline slide in, transmission move in, and everything be set. I believe. It's my theory in my head. I don't know if that's gonna work. I don't know if I'm gonna screw everything up and have to start over again. I really hope I don't have to. It is not easy moving that thing underneath that car on jack stands. It's just tight space, a lot of weight. But hopefully I can get this to work this way. So that is what I'm gonna attempt to tackle right now. I'm gonna go down, jack the car up, and try to get that thing on. Once I get it on, if I'm moving and grooving, I'm probably just gonna move on to getting the drive shaft put in, hook up all the cords, torque down the bolts, and call this a done job, just because it's a pain trying to stop and lose rhythm. So if I don't talk to you in the next little bit, sorry. If I do, great, then I'll explain a little more. So that's about where I'm at. I'm gonna get after it. See you guys in a bit. All right, guys, I think you might have saw the transmission go in. I don't know, because it was only that much movement. But I was talking to my dad last night and he was totally right. It's kind of just when it happens, it happens. It's kind of weird. It's not like a celebration, but you feel so relieved that it actually happened. So anyway, that took me so long that I kind of wanted to share some of the secrets or things that I kind of figured out. I don't know if it's secrets, but hopefully hints that'll help. My lower bolts were very small and I had almost all the bolts on to secure it when I left it overnight. I realized that was probably going to create binding and wouldn't create enough wiggle to make it fall on. So I ended up taking all the bolts out and I took out the bottom bolts, which were about this long, and I put in the side bolts that were about that long. And half of the bolt was, there was no thread to it, so it was smooth surface. And I put those in the lower holes as like guiding bolts. And then all the rest of the bolts were removed. I then removed the mount for the transmission, or the bolts that mounted the transmission, the actual transmission mount. I removed all those bolts and then I just wiggled it and I kind of jacked it up just to the point where I saw the engine and transmission move, like one slight little just movement. Once I saw that, that's where I kind of wiggled and all of a sudden it just fell into place. I did turn the crankshaft a little bit, which I think you'll be able to see in one of my videos I recorded on my phone with my little endoscope. Hopefully you got to see that. But just turning the crankshaft, it was moving so freely that I could tell that there was no real binding. There was nothing harsh, there was no metal sounds, nothing. It was moving pretty dang freely. So that was a good sign. But I do think it might have helped just kind of barely move the spline and the clutch to land together. And then once I got the pressure at the right angle, it just slid in, locked up, and I was just super excited on it. It's like I didn't think it happened, but it did happen, and then I was super excited. Anyway, once I got it on, I just started torquing all the bolts up, pushed it back up, torqued the transmission mount up, threw in the drive shaft, torqued that down, and now everything is up there except for the exhaust, basically the cats. And I wanted to stop there because I do want to pull out the driver's side header and try to see if I can find the holes in that thing so I can weld them up, because there's definitely some. Car is pretty loud. I also got new gaskets for the exhaust manifolds, so I want to pull those things off, weld them up, see if I can get them all sealed up. I also want to do a short throw shifter. That's kind of been my little surprise. It's not that big. Maybe Dale will enjoy it since he's into the Mustangs, but I ended up buying a short throw shifter. The one that I saw that was recommended was like 150 bucks. I thought that was silly. This is a beater car, I don't really care. So I found a $30 version, I think on Amazon, maybe it was eBay. I think it'll work. It's just basically not set up yet. You basically got to put the bolts in yourself, and I don't think it's billet aluminum, which I'm guessing those are probably. This is billet steel, if that's a thing, machined steel. I don't know, but that's what I have because it's definitely heavier than aluminum. So I think I'm going to set that up as well, probably after I try to get the exhaust out first. I also want to see, it comes with like an angle. You'll see it's going to be blue with that short throw shifter. I want to see if I can just take the whole angle out and just make it a little knob. But I don't know how long the reach will be for me sitting far back from it, if it'll be worth it. So yeah, I just don't know if it's going to be comfortable or if it's going to be worth it to try to do that. I'm going to test it, see how it works, see how it looks. If it's silly, then I'll probably throw the angle back in and just, I think I'm going to lose maybe an inch, inch and a half in the throws, which isn't a lot, but it is a lot for how long these throws are in the Mustang. So it is going to be a little nicer to not do like gym exercises while shifting gears. Anyway, I'm going to get started with the exhaust. Talk to you guys in a bit. All right guys, it is the next day. I think you saw that I was starting to grind down the headers. I can't believe that that one mount to the block just literally fell off in my hand. As soon as I started grinding my old weld away, it just crumbled and fell right over. Totally tripped me out. I now see where all the noise from my exhaust was coming from. So I'm a little more relieved that it was mounted up pretty good down below. Yeah, just so trippy. I didn't even know it was that bad. I was trying to test the blow by on everywhere that it is. You can kind of see, I don't know if you can see in the camera, but I'll try to show you that basically where all the mounting points are, you can see where there's a thick good weld and then where it's kind of shallow and there's a little space or a little void. And most of them have like half good, half void. I don't think they were that bad. They're probably 10 years old. Probably broke through that little bit of weld. Just a lot of heat contraction, back and forth. So anyhow, I do want to weld that back up. It's a little late today. I ended up having to go to the salon, run some errands, do some things. So hopefully we can get this thing done and on the car today, completely done, and drive the car. I would love to go for a test drive tonight. I miss the thing. I miss having a car. So hopefully I can get it all done today. It is a lot to get done. Hopefully we can bang it out. I'm really crossing my fingers that this gets done today. I don't know about the radiator, as I mentioned last week, but I do think we can get the short throw shifter in. It's a pretty easy job, I think. Fingers crossed. All that said, I do want to get started. I'm going to start welding this thing up. I did just pick up a new helmet from Harbor Freight, so I can finally do some decent welding. Instead of trying to hold the mask, guess where I am, try to start welding, I think I can finally get some semi-decent welds for me anyway on this thing. So yeah, I'm going to get started. I'll see you guys in a bit. All right guys, all the welding is done. Came out really good in some sections, and then I should have cleaned the metal better and it came out very messy in some other sections. Definitely a lot better than the first go around. But check it out, so like this is my best weld I think I've ever done, period. Which I know isn't great, and I know some of you on here are laughing at. That's fine. For my Harbor Freight $100 welder or $80 welder, and my little mask in my backyard, I'm pretty content with it. Now, all the rest are horrible. This one came out decent. If I took a wire wheel to it, you'd think it was looking good. But as you see, it got messy again, all over the place. Here as well, there was some nice beads underneath this mess, but then it started getting a little dirty, a little archy, and I got lazy and just globbed it on. It did penetrate good, which I'm glad. If you look at the whole inside, you can see the heat marks. It definitely got around where, basically where the old weld broke off, which is like right here, this little lip where it's white to black. That's the old lip. So I think it should be good. Right now what I want to do is try to get it back on the car, put the exhaust Y pipe up, plug in all the O2 sensors, and hopefully get this thing started. You don't know how easy it's going to go. Hopefully it's pretty easy, but I do think I have to jack this thing up one more time, put it on some jack stands to get this thing set up. If I can right now, what I'm going to do is at least try to slide in the header or the manifold, whichever you call it, bolt it up. If I can, get it done that way. If not, then I'll jack the car up first and go that route. So anyway, I'm going to get started. Hopefully this goes pretty smooth. I'll see you guys in a bit. Alright guys, it is the next day. I think you saw that I ended up running through and just kind of finishing short throw shifter as well. I was originally going to try without that little angle bracket, and I kind of did, but I noticed without the extra length, the leverage, that it was a little tight and harder to pull the gears. So I think although it would have been a shorter throw, it would have been harder for me to find the gears, especially trying to race through them. So I ended up deciding to go with the longer route. It's a little more comfortable as well. I think you saw that I got the exhaust put up, all the plugs put in. I know it's kind of a weird angle. It's always hard to tape under a car like that, but I got everything up. Everything's torqued correctly. That the welds on the exhaust came out great. Works great. There was a little bit of a mess I should have cleaned up more. I don't think I taped the one part. I ended up skimming down one of the nuts just to get rid of the flange on the actual nut. You know how it'll be like a 13 millimeter like size, and then past that there's a little flange or like a washer built in. I kind of had to cut that off to get around one little place where I welded a little too far out. I didn't show you that just because I was literally in a rush trying to get this car done yesterday. So that's why you saw me move into the night, installing the shifter, get everything set up. But now I want to show you guys the aftermath of how it all turned out. So we're gonna head out, go on a quick test drive, kind of show you what's up. And yeah, hopefully this goes well. Let's get at it. All right, hopefully this is a cooler angle for you guys to enjoy. I want to get after it, kind of show you guys how this thing is running. Let's do it. So it is Saturday, so there's probably going to be a decent amount of people out here. All right, guys, we're back. I think that's about it. Hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week, and I'll see you next time. Later, guys.